On 4 different occasions, I have had the experience of actually becoming separated from my body, in which I have, in a way, died. This has led me to the question, does death really exist? Sure, the body dies, but what survives? If I survive, then who am I? What I want to talk about now is an experience I had when I was 17 in Oklahoma. It was a couple of months after the assassination of President Kennedy. I was a senior in high school. I was 17 years old, and my brother and I were driving someplace there in Oklahoma. And we were driving along, and we were talking about the assassination. And then we started talking about death. And what is death? And does death really exist? And we were having this discussion. I had this thought. And when I had this thought, I then mentioned it to my brother. And what my thought was, what if we're all just a part of the dream of God? What if all of this that exists, what if everything is just a part of God's dream, that we're just a part of God's dream? What if all of this is God's dream? When I had that thought, I felt this knot kind of at the base of my spine. This knot kind of like grabbed the base of my spine, and I felt my soul disconnect from my body. Now it's interesting because I've had the experience on a couple occasions now of my soul disconnecting from my body. It's a very peculiar little experience because what happens is you feel your soul kind of disconnect. And I felt this disconnect. And I started to leave up from the base of my spine. My soul, as it was disconnected now, began to move up the base of my spine, and I started to leave my body through my eyes. I could feel my soul leaving my body through my eyes. I freaked out. I absolutely freaked out. I thought to myself, where are you going? Where are you going? What are you going to do? You're leaving your body. You're driving your dad's car. You can't be just leaving your body like this. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And I forced myself back into my body. I didn't even know you could do this, but somehow I forced myself back into my body. And then these waves of bliss, I didn't know it was bliss at the time. I thought I was losing my mind. All these waves of bliss started coming over me again and again and again. I never said anything to my brother. I never said anything to anyone. I thought I was losing my mind. Later, come to find out, in reading different books, that in India, this is the belief. There's actually a picture of, it's famous throughout India, of a drawing, various people have done this, of the sustaining power of God called Vishnu, laying down and having a dream, and from his dream comes all of creation. So I then saw that perhaps this was the way it was, that everything is God's dream. They're all just a part of God's dream. And I began to be curious about this, but I put it in the back of my mind, and later on I had other similar experiences, but at that point, at 17, I had this profound experience that I can now look back on and see how meaningful it was for me. Thank you. So now I'd like to share with you an experience I had that changed my life. I guess I was about 23 years old, and I was in the Navy, and I had a previous marriage, and I was told that that she wanted a divorce from me. Now, we were stationed in Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, going through some very intense training, 16 weeks of training, and I wasn't there to be with her, so I was trying to figure out what was going on. And the more I talked to her, the more she was saying she wanted a divorce. She wanted to end the marriage. Well, this devastated me. I was devastated, and I didn't know quite what to do about it. And a bunch of things were happening with me, and so I was trying to get a handle on this situation and what's the best way to deal with this devastating news I had received. And so as I got into more and more of this deep blue dark funk that I was getting into, the more I began to think about suicide. I began to contemplate suicide. And as I was contemplating suicide and how I could get away from all this pain that I was feeling, I started thinking, okay, so what's the best way? Okay, didn't have a gun. I'm on board ship in the Navy. I thought, okay, what I could do, I was on a guided missile destroyer. I thought, okay, I could climb up to the very top of the ship, and then I could jump off and land head first on the middle deck, break my neck, boom, be done, kill myself, I'd be over. The pain would be over with. So I began to think about that as I contemplated how to do that, the mechanics of it, climbing up there, and I thought, well, what if I hit some wires coming down and they break my fall a little bit, then I'm paralyzed. So all this crap was going through my mind. And all of this negative stuff in my mind was coming here, going there, and all of this type of stuff. And as I was really contemplating how to do this, suddenly this clear voice rang through my whole being, and it said, it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. At that point, this huge weight dropped away, and I realized that the only way I was going to die from this situation is if I was to kill myself. What I was going through, all in my mind, was not going to harm me. For sure, it wasn't going to kill me. But I was going through such a difficult mental state. It was the worst pain. But then all was lifted when I heard, it's all in your mind. And I thought, yes, it's all in my mind. And as it all dropped away, and all the anxiety, all the negative stuff, everything just disappeared in a flash. There's a story in India that in a dark room, all you have to do is take one match and light it, and the whole room lights up. The darkness disappears. That's what happened with me. This thought that it was all in my mind erased all of it, and I was like free. I was free in a way. Later on, I began to contemplate where this voice came from. What was its source? Because my mind was full of crap, dark crap. So this voice came from somewhere. Where did it come from? What was the source of this voice? What was the nature of this voice? So then I began to start a quest to find out. And I wasn't prepared to take anyone's answer for what it was. I wanted to find out for myself. I wanted to know for sure myself what was the source of this voice. This started me on a lifelong quest. I now have come to realize where this voice came from, what is this voice, and its source. Thank you very much.